Hello there. Hopefully I'm audible to y'all. Hopefully I'm coming in all right. Um Here we go again, or differently. Yeah, so as with a lot of these kinds of departures, yeah, I painted myself into a nasty little corner by having an emotional reaction to what the internet is. And the devolution and entropy that is set hold in this little community is the same that exists everywhere. A little bit in and out on the audio is that you or is that me? It looks like everything is metering strong, so I'm not sure. But either way, maybe I shouldn't look at that. Okay. Choppy, you say? Chop, chop. Let's see. I don't have any of the echo cancellation or any of that. Yeah, it's good. Good over here. That's what I thought. So check your Wi-Fi, y'all. Do a speed test. Yeah. So, the statements of others, if you step out on these internet streets here or out to protest, everybody's going to throw everything at you. And, I guess I got worn down by the whole idea of it. And again, like I said last time, holding on to different aspects of how this used to be and the feeling that we all used to get, right? And once that is kind of gone with the first flush of the thing, then what's left, right? It's the work. And it seems like some people are carrying on the work, and that's really good. And that's what I wish to do. The problem arises when you mash everything else having to do with everything under the sun or nothing, real nothings under the sun. All these specters get raised and thrown at you. And yeah, I think for anybody, the cognitive load, the number of different kinds of thoughts, and maybe a bunch of different experiences with exposing oneself that people haven't had before. So for me, it's been this nasty jumble, every single thought, all of them. And it's akin to the feeling that I had facing court. Where it seems like, you're on the edge of a precipice and perhaps anybody's going to push you off at any time. And I started to realize over these past couple weeks that it wasn't in my heart to leave, that I was still attached to the ideas. I was still attached to the work. The last time that I went out in front of the Portland org, I thought it was very positive. It was just a positive freaking protest day without a whole lot of this, that, or the other thing. And it got right back to what it was, having the conversations with the public, trying to engage in that way and let the people in any of these communities where an ideal org or mission or any other Scientology outcropping exists, that, yeah, they're still here and they're still fucking with you. So yeah. And just because of like a whole lot of upset that just always comes from this shit, from dealing with the internet and what people are conditioned to believe and engage with on the internet, and hanging up, thinking about hanging up the Spurs. The rate of return, all of the stress on top of it. Now, what I realized for myself is that I have been choosing to engage in like a lot of negative thought processes having to do with all of this that are keeping me from doing just like the basics. And there's like 20, 30 thoughts in front of me calling for my attention that are keeping me from just acting. And that's my choice, right? Everybody can say and do whatever they want, right? And criticize and come up with all of the things. Be as Alex Jones as they want, I guess, and that's let the great world spin, right? And so learning by being cleansed by fire that you are what you answer to out here, and to ignore the bullshit, I think is an important step in my growth here. And that's kind of the realization that I came to, and why I threw up the idea of doing this live by basically just saying, yup, I got freaked out for my person and my safety, and needed to take whatever time I needed to take to figure that out. And it looked pretty bleak for me right there. When you're facing your mind attacking you, hard to see the future clearly, besides what's right in front of you and what you need to do to get through like this moment, this hour, this day, this week, day at a time, hour at a time, moment at a time. So, yeah. And I mean, people are welcome to call it a flip-flop. They're welcome to call it whatever they like. But basically what I wanted to say is I'm going to do and say and act and stream and whatever else it is that I do through this medium, how and when and where I wish. And to be able to actually do that, I need to be in the better practice of just letting this stuff be what it is, which is a bunch of people entertaining themselves on the internet, be it vicious or not, be it malicious or not, until it raises to the point where, maybe somebody has to do something. Because that happens from time to time. Things get serious out here on the internet. I don't know if you've been noticing, like a lot of live streamers have been leaving this planet by their own hands because of bullying and all of the things. So, I mean, it is like these actions and these communities aren't without consequence, and it's been for some time. And I mean, in each and every case is a real sticky wicket of figuring out where exactly to lay blame. But in total, it seems people's anonymity and engaging in something that's maybe more exciting than what they're used to dealing with. It's like being on the edge of maybe like a bar fight or something that you get to like root on, or like hand somebody a bar stool or something. So, reality television that you can have some kind of actual impact in. And, while my last stream was lamenting all of these things and condemning them and trying to name these mechanisms and functions that exist here in this community and in other online communities, and saying those were the reasons why, I could no longer engage. And upon further reflection, it's like, well, that is seemingly the entirety of the internet. And it's really when I get into a space where I'm just a raw open nerve, I can't, or I'm temporarily unable to separate the two, right? So, where I know logically this is just kind of the arena that I've stepped into, still just under the weight of like the hurt, basically, and my attachment to my own hurt, that I'm allowing this stuff to get past my bat. And if you don't have the resources anymore, like you've been beaten down or you're in a depressed state, all of these things, maybe some of you with chronic depression or some kind of acute depressive thing, know that it's real hard to put your dukes up sometimes. It's real hard to get your hands up. And so when you're in those states, just tons of stuff will get past your bat. You don't have your regular defenses. It's all just going to go in there and it's going to hurt worse than it usually would. And the small things, all of the small things will get to you as though they're the major things, because at least for me, I get into a state where it's like I've decided I can't take any more. And so any further input at that point is insult to injury. So, and for things that tough, I think it takes some time. It's hard to know for me, and this is what I've observed. I think it's hard for people to, within like some kind of acute episode, which is like an explosion of your mind, in various ways, whether it's depressive or or manic or any of the different things, any of the different manifestations of those diagnoses. It's like being within an explosion and being near the center of it. And it's hard to know because everything's moving so fast, so it seems, to know where everything's going to land moment to moment, to know where to stand, to know where to be, to avoid shrapnel, to be safe, to figure out what's actually going on, what caused anything, right? Takes time and perspective to be outside of that, to be able to regard it from a distance, to be able to take some amount of stock of what it is, of what the nature of this is. And this is the time that I've taken to take that kind of a stock. So yeah, it's an unfortunate thing, I would say, that so much energy is wasted on these kinds of fights. And go all the way up the streamer chain to the largest ones, and they've all gone through this stuff. They've all gone through waves and waves of people coming out of the woodwork to do all of the things. Well, I think people sometimes don't realize, I guess, when you stand on stage, you may be entertaining people. And there's a reason for anxiety with performance or stage fright. It's because you also kind of make yourself a target for ridicule if things go badly, right? So just knowing that's the thing. And so this is a kind of performance, and any performer, you'll get, if you're going to stay in, you get a thicker skin, right? After a time. You go with like, did I entertain the room, or am I going to listen to that one jerk at the end of the night who's telling me something, right? And maybe he has something to say. You want to listen, but maybe you don't. Maybe they don't have something to say. And, that's why artists, maybe you're not going to read all of your critics. And if you do, you're not going to fucking believe it. All of those people have their own reasons to say things. And so through the process of exposing yourself to this kind of criticism or critique or ridicule or any of these things, you grow a kind of a skin. For me, it time after time, I have the skin taken off of my back to the point where it seems like, yeah, exactly, I'm just a raw nerve. Anything's going to hurt real bad, like the worst sunburn in your life. And so you avoid it. So to reiterate, I am saying here now, I choose to do whatever the heck I want with this channel, and right now I'm pledging to myself in front of all of you um, that I'm going to work better to just engage with what I'm doing and not with the extraneous commentary that may accompany that. So, like doing, response videos to people, it has its place. It does. People need to respond to each other. I don't I don't think there are any hard and fast rules about format or approach. I think all of these tools have their place, and it's up to any individual viewer to decide whether or not that's something for them, I guess. But yeah, I don't, and never really wanted to engage in a whole lot of clapbacking, salt shaking vitriol, although I have engaged in that sometimes. And every time, it may have had some temporary effect, some kind of temporary rush or whatnot, but it's pretty much like Coke. It's like feeling good 5 minutes at a time or 10 minutes at a time or something. It doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't teach you anything. It teaches you about being addicted to something, perhaps, but it doesn't really feed your mind. So like being in some way surrounded by a community that was having reach by engaging in such things was, like, God, eye-opening, and for somebody and other people here that like this Scientology thing, maybe they protested other things. Well, not maybe. You protested other things, and this Scientology thing was the first time you put anything on camera that you ever protested, and how different it is, right? What the medium of social media, YouTube, or any of these things do to change the nature of protest. There are very positive things about it. Just the reach, the outreach, and for streamers that are streaming in front of ideal orgs, when you've got 2 or 3 people, it's a safety issue. But then behind it, it's everything that algorithm is trying to generate, and so I've seen people navigate it better than I have, and have kept cleaner channels, kept cleaner discourse, have stayed on mission more, have not been so dissuaded. And yeah, that's what I thought I was doing when I was stepping out on the street again and going out in front of the Portland org. That was just positivity to me. I sang real loud over the Sciento speaker. That might be my level of aggression there. But that speaker was hurting my ears after a time. That was part of it. So, because really, anyway, that you're getting the word out, and for me personally, in my opinion, when you're getting the word out and you're not engaging people in like maybe 10% message of what you're trying to convey and 90% who knows. And that's just me. I find that approach confuses the issue and brings an unserious people and unseriousness to a deadly serious issue. Now, there's all time for frivolity and kicking up your heels, making jokes, all of those things. Like, the silly songs, protest songs. These are the lifeblood of a freaking protest. But I think we know what the difference is here. I think we know we've, like, made a sport out of each other. And it's now, a point system of who got who back better when. And and that's gross. But like, it was my mistake, I think, to ever take any of that shit seriously. Really. Because, well, I think it was yesterday. I remember, a technique that therapist had put over to me, and also my parents, both my mother and my father. Um, Now, it's not something you want to do with somebody who's in the middle of imagining all of the worst for themselves, right? But like, once you've gathered yourself a little bit, if you can ask yourself the question, well, really, this thing that I'm facing, what's the worst? What's the actual worst? No, what's not the imagined worst? What's possible to happen now? And then, okay, so what would you do to deal with that? If that in fact did happen, it kind of collapses all of the extraneous thoughts and gives you something to kind of focus on, to orient yourself. And so I started to, in the face of these things, like imagine the worst of what could happen and what I would do to try to mitigate those things. And it seemed way more tolerable. And then the rest of what I planned to do with this channel all came back into view, like finishing The Century of Self and doing more Adam Curtis documentaries and doing more kinds of documentaries to try to expose more of this audience to these kinds of ideas, which I think are invaluable, especially nowadays. And that's just me. I just want to get those idea germs, memes around. If and if people enjoy it, that's great. But I'm already considering these things, like that stuff. I'm already watching those documentaries and having all of those thoughts. I'm might as well have some company, and going through more of the Scientology literature that I have all lined up, going through the HCOPLs, and doing more protesting, and doing music streams, and all of the rest of it. So, because I don't know, I think I have a fair amount to share. Some of it's interesting, but it's also it's been helpful for me to get this stuff kind of out of my head and to put it out each and every time. I feel like, in a way, unburdened. It's weird. And I think that's the way some people feel composing music or well, generating work. They're like, go through like a year of being completely occupied and fully penetrated by these ideas that they're wrestling with to try to generate this piece, and then they throw it out there, and it's like, okay, now I don't have to hold it so tightly anymore, and I'm not holding it so tightly anymore. It's for others maybe to take on some of that grip, and if there are enough of them, then maybe by many hands it would make light work. So yeah, once all of that fog cleared, I'm like, wait a minute, I have all of these positively intentioned things that I think will actually be helpful, and I'm taking myself out of the running because of like a lot of loose talk that's a nothing. So that doesn't sound right, and it started to wear on me more and more before I realized that I was actually going to change my mind. It was just like a pressure. But yeah, it didn't take too long, and it was really it was yeah, it was the different like well-intentioned things that like came rushing back where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And like for who? So um yeah, I usually lose bad when I shy away from things like this and I allow like my own thought process to arrest my forward momentum and I'll freeze. I will freeze for a long period of time. And like the whole world will go by because engaging just seems more painful, like inviting more um, of what I'm already experiencing. And I mean, some of that is positive. Some of it, like being able to leave a situation to gather yourself to yourself when you're overwhelmed, when you're not going to be acting positively, and you're not going to be helped to anybody and yourself. It's good to be able to realize that that's happening and take yourself out of that situation. But unfortunately, I take myself out of that situation and then take myself out of any situation and then kind of take myself off of this planet mentally, because I consider it the best possible option at the time. And that comes with like well, like a lot of regret. You know, you miss out on opportunities every time. You know, you freeze. Life is going. There are all these choices. There's all this opportunity out there right at your door, and being frozen in this kind of state, like it's as if it's not there. You might as well be in a capsule, uh, orbiting the Earth, or on its way to Mars. And that's kind of how I feel sometimes. Uh, yeah, totally alienated and not on this planet anymore and not able to relate. Like yeah. So, so yeah, all of these things are complex, and I think the cookie crumbles all the different ways at all the different times. Each person, you know, maybe you have a pattern, you know, you can recognize things, but don't be surprised by your brain surprising you because it is flexible and extremely powerful to make things that are not real pretty real seeming. Uh, so, so yeah. Yeah, rather than lament all of the damage. And it's the same thing, you know, I found like it's not just this community, you know, you can generate this kind of cynicism that it's not going to get better, it's broken, screw it, there's no point in engaging anymore. About a whole lot of things. You know, the world's looking pretty freaking out of control right now. So, um, yeah, and would generate a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of cognitive dissonance in people, and a whole lot of being frozen into inaction or into, you know, inconsequential fake actions. Um, you know, I've been bowled over by the entire world, or you know, whatever it is, uh, and develop these attitudes, and they're generally temporary. Um, but at those times, it's as real as anything else. Like it seems solid as houses, pretty good, goddamn concrete. Um, yeah, that what I'm experiencing not only is as real as I feel it to be, but it's going to persist, and there's no way out. Um, and yeah, so it's being overwhelmed and you're giving up on the process of trying to reason this stuff out because you just don't have the mental energy. And like I said, it takes some amount of time, perspective, distance from those episodes to be able to try to see what the hell happens, what the hell did happen, what's going to happen next, what's, you know, how bad is this? Is it really that bad? Um, but on that side of the ledger, like I have to, once I'm on that side, I have to, give a huge compliment to all of my therapists for giving me the techniques, for instructing me in the techniques as to how to evaluate, how to try to take a look at all of those things that happened without the hurt, with like try to see if you can reason it out, so that it's not feeling the emotion, because you're trying to process it. You are engaging in the emotion, but as it's overwhelming you to the point where you can't think, right? That's going to take some time to undo, and why it got you there, what triggers you, why it's so explosive, that this is a target-rich field for examination in therapy. But being able to trace back how you got there, what exactly got under your skin, and what's generating this stuff. Part of that is knowing yourself well enough to know what those things are for yourself. So knowing what your triggers are, that takes some freaking work. Some people don't know. Some people don't know for years, right? These mechanisms, some people don't figure this out ever. And I mean, for me, I know it's a lifelong process of maintenance. I've got things that are serious enough where I've known for my whole, adult life. It was pretty, it was something I had to get over in my 20s. It's like, oh, wow, it's going to just be like this? Okay. That was difficult. And some kind of Saturn's return stuff, right? But yeah, I've got stuff that's serious enough where I need to take special attention with this. Where I've dislocated my psychological shoulder enough where that it's easy to happen, and every time that it happens, it does more damage. So it's like, your first instinct being attacked or feeling bad like this, fight back, immediate attack. And there's a lot of that around. There's a lot of the enemy of my enemy is my friend logic or illogic that's operating on people. There's a lot of the inability to put forward like a logical statement or make a sound argument. I think very many internet speakers would do well to study those concepts before they say anything. Just for, I don't know, being more correct more of the time. Because there are ways of constructing ideas, there are ways of constructing statements or arguments that could not possibly bear anything like truth because of how they're constructed. And these concepts are called logical fallacies. Now, if you study philosophy or psychology, debate, or the way to construct things like this, if you study law, where your ideas need to like hold up the furniture of the minds of like parts of civilization. And so in order to do that, you need to know that you have a solid foundation. Now with argument, these are how to construct a logical one. So most of internet commentary engages in all of the logical fallacies, sometimes within one paragraph. So And it's what people are used to now because it's so much like auto tune. It's what people are used to because it's most of what's around. By the way, all your pop stars are auto tuned for 20 years at least. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay. What are we doing here? We've got it. We've got a chat here. I've noticed. Hey, y'all in chat. Those were the basics of my ideas. I'm here to say, yeah, the internet is a pigsty, and there are a lot of pigs around covered in their own shit. And I was disgusted to the point of puking and like ripping my larynx out by puking at the smell of it. And I have a respirator now, and I'm going to make sure that it has regular filters applied to it. And that's going to be how I'm going to be able to carry on. The great world can spin. Everybody can spin their flax into whatever hair shirt they may like. I won't wear it. I'm not going to wear your hair shirt. So yeah. So yeah, chat. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. What up? What up, y'all? Which share? Good to see you in here. Right on. Seemingly, we've been going through kind of a similar rigmarole, and I have to say, the first time we had a good conversation, and I think that was outside of Laura's show. I got such a good hit off of you, and like like beyond unobtrusive, maybe to a fault, I don't know, but I really wanted to lean in to hear your ideas because I think you're a particularly sensitive person as far as I can see, and so that you're able to see more and feel more of what's going on. And correct me if I'm wrong, but does that lead to like some amount of like social caution or something? Because it, like, everybody's kind of like, outside of a show and like rah, totally jazzed up and doing their thing, and you're really like centered and intentional and calm and peaceful and waiting for your turn. So it was I was definitely taken with all of that right off the bat. It's not every person that steps around these spaces that has that level of sensitivity and intelligence and emotional intelligence, and is able to stay around for any period of time. Because like the internet and the mean streets and all of that, like, I don't know, those of us that feel the pain of the world so very, very much, it gets to be too much real quick. So I'm sorry for the trouble that you're having. I think you're awesome. Whatever you need to do, you need to do. Call upon me for whatever you want. You're awesome. Yeah, right on. Yeah, so it was the first time you came up here, involved in a community for over 30 years. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you were missed at the last one because you will be here. And yeah, I don't want to forget that, like, when everything in LA went cold, you went out there. You were out there. You were holding the field and doing it positively, doing it I don't know how I want to do it in a way. um, you took it upon yourself to do that, and I think we all owe you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, wicked. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So okay. So it seems like I didn't read you wrong. Uh, I always want to ask the question because it's like these are my impressions, and they're my impressions with not a whole lot of information. So yeah. What is this Oregon Valley girl? Let's see. Collect litigation. So F. Sciento is held to account for the crime support victims. Yeah, yeah, all this. Oh yeah, the work, the work, and there's real positive stuff going on. If like I don't know, you just put the and keep on track in some way. I was about to say put the blinders on, but I don't want to be blind. Is the other thing. I want to have a bit more, and I don't want to say Teflon because it's an awful toxin, but this stuff to be more like water on so many ducks' backs. Yeah, to be able to do the work because all of that was in sight easily at the beginning. That was freaking clear. There was mission was clear. Everybody was clear on what we were doing until we weren't. And then we had to figure some stuff out, and it didn't seem like there was willingness to really do what is a hard thing, which is to figure out how to move all of this forward in a positive way and not leave people behind, be as inclusive as possible while not entertaining a whole lot of damage. So, it takes a lot of brains thinking a lot and planning and putting forward those plans. And as far as I can see, that wasn't done effectively. Yeah. So just looking through what you said. All right. Yeah. I don't know. Somebody just warned me not to not to read the chat. Okay. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Cuz the thing is like, Scientology throws you some stuff out there uh and things get dicey from time to time in the streets, but you know it's like the community itself has become more dangerous than Scientology in some ways. And so that was a hard truth to onboard. It meant more letting go of expectations and like a kind of connection in a way. But I think successful movements have flexible response. And so if you can't shift and move, if you can't learn from what's coming up and what's emerging, then you'll be left in the dust, or you'll be a rock in the middle of the river that will be worn down over time. So flexible response is what I'm trying to figure out. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, they do need support. So yeah, I mean a lot of us. So yeah, the ROs were free and fast flying in Los Angeles, and I caught one of those in Austin, and it did take me off the street for a bit, and you know, it it freaked me out for sure. Um, alongside like a bunch of other things where my car got stolen, my rental car got broken into, my guitar got stolen, like we had freaking paid freaks showing up and doing physical shit in front of the Austin org, and then a legal case. Plus moving halfway across the country, So I had engaged in, a few of the top 5 stressors in life in the space of about 6 months. And yeah, it took me off the street, and it made me less useful for other people for very many purposes, and still has. I mean, that zap is still on me, and it was a little case, right? So for those with more serious cases, whoever you are and whatever relationship we may have, my heart goes out to you. I mean, that's up to anybody that's done anything for the entire time. It doesn't fucking matter. And it shouldn't really fucking matter. We shouldn't fight on that. Like the whole bit where this summer there was like division and not mutual support over hurt feelings for fucking court cases is bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. So, you're not an upstanding person to me around here if you're willing to engage in that shit. You're flying the Sciento flag as far as I can tell, right there. So whoever's doing that, and I don't care how close or far away you are from, my association, like, fuck you. Yeah. So, and that's my voice right there. That is something that I very much intended to say. Yeah. Everybody needs it takes a village. It was, it was easier when we were moving together, like the court cases didn't seem as fucking scary or dire when we had everybody. Well, also it works better in court if you have the support of the community in a way where they show up. So and if you can get like serious credentialed ass motherfuckers with some legal prestige to write letters for you, that helps too. And that helps if you're on solid legal ground and you're in communication with such people. So yeah. Yeah. It takes a village. Wow. Y'all are ridiculous. Y'all are ridiculous. This chat, you guys. Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of messaging right here in the chat going around about, who's legit, who said what where, right? A lot of chat policing, a lot of demands, seemingly, half, kind of veiled demands for behavior, decorum, associations. Like what I was saying, loyalty pledges, ideology, which to me is where, you've said to yourself, I'm going to think this far and no further. That's what ideology is to me. You have a set of criteria for appropriate, reality and all of these things, and you're so inflexible as to not be able to take in any kind of new information. And in so doing, you'll kind of, you'll you'll put margins on like chaotic reality, and chaotic reality doesn't usually fit there. And so there are things that fit outside of your frame, or maybe everything fits outside of your frame. These kinds of demands are absurd. And I mean, I see a lot of talk about who's where, who might be invited to where, as if that's important. You know, either do the work or not. Other people are going to be there. They are. Maybe bad people are going to be there. Maybe people you really don't like or that have harmed you, right? They're going to be there. But why would that have you denigrate the entire process? Yeah. Why would you allow those kinds of small ball ideas to sidetrack you? Now, for me, when I let those kinds of small ball ideas sidetrack me, it's because I have some kind of personal hurt and I'm wrapped up in myself and the hurt and this, and I can't get beyond it. And all that exists is the hurt and what I need to do to, make it right, to prove something, rather than like carry on as I am and act positively in the world for change. Now, I've seen a fair amount of people in the public fighting for their whole lives in worthwhile endeavors to a person. The ones that are successful disregard all of this shit. And when they get into a fight, it has actual weight. It has weight and consequence because everyone around there knows that this person doesn't go off half-cocked all the time for nothing. They're principled. They act through their principles. They act mostly positively for the good of all people. And from time to time, when circumstances necessitate it, they will act to clear the air and engage with somebody in some kind of a debate or correction. So we don't have anything like that here. We don't have the mere appearance of it, right? So, I've heard from a few different people, survivors and beyond, that because of how things are being conducted, that they can't have an association with it, right? Because they do serious work in their lives, and this affects that. The way this is being done affects that. And so you're taking like people of real action and consequence off the field by engaging in nonstop hysterical romper room antics. Okay, I see a lot of non sequitur here. And a fair amount of things that are being attributed to me. No, it's non sequitur because it has no attachment to this person, any of my words or actions. I know who I am. I know what I've fought for. I know what I've stepped out onto the street to protest since I was 12 fucking years old. And I didn't need to get paid. I didn't need any fucking attention for it. Because I believe in these things. Because some things are worth standing up for their own fucking sake. They have intrinsic value. Intrinsic value. So again, this is part of my new, waterproofing system. My mink oil for my boots is to remind myself that ain't fucking you. That ain't you, dude. And you are what you answer to. So, yeah. And man, I mean, people had said this concept to me like, look, like the phrase, listen to the fans, you end up in the stands. Why did I forget that? Why did I forget that one? Because it's so clear. And I've had so many examples of that in my life before this. Seriously. And like getting rid of that, getting rid of the sense that I owe anybody anything for this, that really, that I'm doing anything other than trying to, like, I don't know, engage anybody that's interested in the stuff that's in my brain that I think is useful. And that's what I'm freaking here for. That's really why I'm around on this planet at all. Because it's really all that I have is these abilities that I've developed, my stagecraft and my musicianship, that are my stock and trade, and have filled all of my time with these process-driven things. And so engaging in those processes is like, that's the main thing. And that I ever have anywhere, no matter like what happens to me. And as my life is changing drastically and very quickly, that becomes clear again. This really is what I have. When everything else falls away or is ripped out of my hands, I still have that. So, okay. Right on. It seems as though some people are asking for me to be answerable to everything else that's happening right now, when I haven't had very much interaction with the people that are being mentioned, or have very little awareness of the others. And the very idea that any of us have to be called out on the carpet for things like this is a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of everyone's brain. It's a waste of our attention and our best intentions. It's a fucking waste. It will prove nothing and go nowhere. So, and there's been all of the evidence for the past year of that being true. Solved nothing. Gotten to the bottom of nothing with that kind of shit. Now, like, what if you're like actually building, connection, or if you're actually building a community, if you're actually organizing protests, if you're doing things that are directly confronting these things that we're engaging in, why do you need the rest of it? Well, what is it for? Okay, I will address this directly. Where is it? Where is it? Hello. Yeah. Yeah, Alonzo is mercury in the water supply that you're placing in the water supply. And that's your fault. And when this blows up in your face and it's clear to everyone what you've done, I mean, will you take accountability for it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But any time that you've exposed this audience to the positive aspects of Scientology, independent Scientology, auditing, child auditing, to me, you've lost every little bit of credibility that you ever had. And that's about it. Anybody that does that, to me, I won't trust you. You have no credibility to me. You're counterproductive in the movement, and I'm happy to say so. So that person and anybody that platforms them, net negative is now your contribution for whatever you may have done. Because what you have done now is you've exposed maybe not very well informed, vulnerable people to the positive feeder aspects, to the self-help, entry-level, thin end of the wedge aspects of Scientology. To impressionable people who take whatever you say as gospel. That's irresponsible. To me, anybody else can say what it is to them. To me, that is irresponsible. And at that point, you have no credibility in a protest movement. So it's like a member of Antifa, right, holding a podcast, right, with Charlie Kirk or any other neo-Nazi, right? You think those people are ever going to talk to them again? Nope. No, they won't. Okay? Why? Because you have broken every idea that you had a principled stance in the first place. And that it's about anything else but what's actually at hand. So, yeah, no, I believe Alonzo to be like the most kind of dangerous outcropping of somebody showing up in this movement in quite a little while. And that's just my thoughts. I think giving credibility to Scientology, any of their practices, doctrines, anything, is dangerous. I think exposing vulnerable and impressionable people to the better aspects of high control groups is irresponsible. And I will have nothing to do with it. I don't have to tell you about anybody else. I have no association with that person. Okay? So, yeah, you can... I don't know if he's Osa. I don't care. I don't care. What he's doing right now, through you as a conduit, is destructive. And I hope that you realize that sooner than later. Because you're doing damage right now. Right now. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. You know, I understand that there have been a lot of personal attacks that have been levied against me, but it's like, why should I believe any of this? Really? Because you're unfucking believable, basically. And while it may make the unskillful laugh, it cannot help but make the judicious grieve. And you can take that to the bank. Yeah, so I'm meant to have all of these associations now. See, if you know, it's a wonderful web we weave. So yeah, moving on. Yeah, so I'm going to be re-engaging and finish this Adam Curtis documentary series. If you haven't seen, there are 2 parts out there called The Century of Self. It's about I believe, very well-made documentaries about the history of the public relations and advertising industry at the beginning of the 20th century being built on the ideas of Sigmund Freud through his nephew, Edward Bernays, who is basically the father of the public relations industry in advertising, modern advertising as we know it. That matched with the ideas in this book, Public Opinion by Walter Lippmann, made the information space that we as citizens of the United States and global citizens have been suffering under for over a century. And they're the same mind control techniques that are used by any high control group. They're used by every industrialist, all the manufacturers. They're used by every politician to capture your attention, to make seemingly logical statements that are, kind of delving into psychological handles that we all have, generally about survival. So if you can convince somebody that they're not safe, or that they're not going to be accepted in the pack by people, if they don't buy your product, you have a really strong pitch. The toothpaste, it's going to make your teeth so white that you're going to be attractive enough to be acceptable to a mate, to be able to pass on your genetic material, is the biological imperative. It's the most powerful force that's operating within us, really. And all of these groups use sex, death, the main motivators to motivate you towards making that decision at the end of your trip through the grocery store, at the end of your shopping around for an automobile, picking a politician, any of these things. And so part 1 and 2 got up to about the late 60s, right? And so it was the first part concerning mainly Edward Bernays' work and Walter Lippmann, and then part 2 is how those ideas were taken up and disseminated throughout the entire world, creating a global economy based on those ideas, but generating economic action through motivating people with those ideas. And part 3 is concerning a counter movement against psychotherapy, in order to try to go into the same aims. You're trying to liberate the person from, themselves or the worst parts of themselves, or, make their lives more manageable or cohesive, or whatever the aims are. So yeah, you had, like Freudian psychotherapists, that were ascendant until like the mid 60s. And then there was a kind of a change towards like these more experimental, almost Reichian, if you know Wilhelm Reich, explorations into allowing people to, for the first time, express themselves in unfettered ways. And so this became like the Encounter Group and Est and the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh cult and all of these other things where people were, there was this period of time where people were engaging in these ecstatic experiences, that were beyond the pale of like most American life for its entire history, in order to discover things about themselves. And it was another way to fleece people, basically, because there was another control system underneath it. So tune in for that. And I think part 4 takes us up to like the millennial end, the millennial turn. So look, are we going back and forth on what the you guys arguing here? I've just noticed you guys are arguing. Doesn't seem like anybody's engaging with these ideas, and that's all right. That's all right. You do what you will. So I plan on doing that. The next series of Adam Curtis documentaries is called The Power of Nightmares. It's about how governments control you through fear. And it's like a post 9/11 look at what led up to being able to be completely controlled through fear after that point, and then its actual operation. But like all of the historical things that led up to that point, including why Al Qaeda was formed and where they got their ideas from back like a generation before themselves, and it's scary. It's scary, but I find it really informative. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, really. I mean, the century of self. Uh, it's important to me. These ideas, public opinions. I disagree with everything in this book. By the way, the entire approach again was a fear reaction. Public Opinion by Walter Lippmann there is his thesis statement on why the public cannot be trusted to be told what's really going on. The public is an uncontrolled, unsophisticated mass that needs to be fed what he calls necessary illusions and convenient myths. Things that they can engage in that's like a story form that contains within it what the state wants to happen. That if you tell them what's actually going on, that the mob, and this was fear driven out of the post World War I era, where there were these mass revolutions, the Russian Revolution, and we're seeing all of these different states in a state of like disorder where these power structures were being toppled. And so the managers of society were looking for all of these ways to get stuff back into control. And so the consumer economy, this kind of messaging through the news media were the answers for that, were their like replacement for the authority of God and the state was consumerism. And so this book basically from this point on, I mean, this was one of the most influential. Walter Lippmann's one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century in American life. He shaped a lot of the furniture of our mind for like political discourse that we don't even know. He coined several terms originally, but they're all euphemisms and, to me, pretty hateful. And cynical about what people are. And so, I mean, if you've decided that, then why the fuck do you have to educate anybody after that, right? What's the fucking point? You don't need to engage people in logic. You don't need to engage people in history or civics or anything like that. You don't. You need to generate a number of people that know just enough to be able to run the machinery of the state and not question it. And that's it. That's all, right? And basically, this book's the beginning of that in a real institutionalized way in the United States. And it has a retort. In 1989, I believe, Noam Chomsky and his co-author, whose name escapes me right now, put out the book Manufacturing Consent. And there's a documentary movie. There's a bunch of places to find it online. I recommend watching Manufacturing Consent. Who knows? We might watch it. I don't know. But that manufacturing consent is taking that phrase out of this book and being able to show like how disgusting it was that all of our political lives and the news media that we consume were being spoon-fed to us as if we were all infants since 1920. So because it was decided by the managers of our affairs that we were not responsible enough to be able to handle that. So 100 years later of that being how things are run top down, with all of this information on the internet, like it seems people know a fuck of a lot less. So I find these ideas to be kind of the most important things around, as what's built upon those ideas is all of, to me, the cynical evil of how our affairs are managed. And from the beginning, that cynicism creating an unfair state of play where, I mean, if the regular populace isn't even going to be engaged with honestly and is required to have things told to them in a cookie cutout story form, how are we ever going to lift ourselves up and like reach those levels? Only like, kind of a chosen few people that go through the university systems, and not even that. So it's a system of information control, and it creates an intellectual aristocracy who, there's like a very select number of people that actually know what the fuck is going on for 100 years. So yeah, as those are deadly important. I find a lot of the ills in our society, the tricks that governments can pull on you, the tricks that advertisers can pull on you, the tricks that high control groups can pull on you, and individuals. If you understand how these things operate, you can avoid a hell of a lot of it. And to me, lead, I don't know, a more self-actualized life? Ill phrase, but something more honest. At least give yourself the opportunity to maybe have ideas that are actually your own, rather than prescribed, prepackaged opinions from others. But if you're not used to thinking for yourself, that can be real heavy lifting and painful. Yeah. So yeah, I intend to go back there and finish up my work, do my work. I can do my work. I can do it. I know I can. I can do my work. And not sweat the mess and the small stuff, because the mess and the small stuff has been fucking up my whole life, my butt, my playing, my ability to make music, all this other stuff that I love. And I know I don't want to be around if, like, I can't even look at my drum kit for a couple weeks, can't even look at it, because I get into, well, I don't want to ruin it. I have this fear that, I'm in those states and I'm going to develop like an association between like that bad feeling and the most awesome thing that I love doing. And I don't want to do that. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so it's hard for me to look at the things that actually, make me want to live and are self-affirming, and so that becomes a nasty spiral. So like you've then taken away like all of your support systems and outlets, at least for me. Yeah, you take all that away from yourself and things get worse and it's more bleak and you shut down more. And like I saw myself going down that slide, and I'm still sliding, right? But I have the presence of mind, at least right now, to be able to say these words. That's what I have right now. I have the current something like some kind of presence of mind. So yeah. Listen to the fans, end up in the stands. And another thing, fans, they are not friends. Okay? I was in a band that had super fans. Like 25 releases from this band over 30 years, right? And, people have everything, all the Japanese shit, every poster, everything. Like, a few times we like a couple times off the road, somebody gives you a house to go to, you'll park up the bus and like, you'll hang out with the super fans, and they'll have, like tapers for the dead, like all these tapes of the shows, and they're like, listen, this is what you did in 1993. Right. Now, they're very excited. They're very supportive. They might give you money. They might give you shelter. They might give you food. And some of them might end up being real friends. But that takes time to figure that out. Because generally what it is that they are so connected to the idea of the thing that you sold to them. They are so connected to the image around the thing that they won't accept anything but that image. They won't accept anything from you but what they expect from what you sold to them. And if you appear to be anything other than that, you will be rejected. And sometimes in not very nice ways. Like, super fan becomes super detractor, right? And, I didn't see that so much in that band, but, I know that happens. So fans, they are not necessarily friends. Gotta know that. They're just not. Oh, shnikes. What am I doing? Y'all being nice? What is this? I am derelict in my duties. Excuse me. Excuse me, everybody. You're being freaking generous. I'm not mentioning it. This is stupid. Okay. Super Pop. Thank you. Let's see. That's Broken Heart. Hug Broken Heart. Yeah. Thank you for that. Absolutely. I take that in the manner that I believe it was sent. Which share? You're not alone. Always keep fighting. Thank you. You too. And like everybody, again, like I've said this a few times, everybody chooses their level of involvement at any time. And that's the reality of it, right? Now, people want to put these kinds of arbitrary metrics on you. They want to tell you, you got to hit this criteria to be like a protester. Fuck all that. Okay. That doesn't exist. That exists about as much as freeloader debt. And it's basically like anti-Sciento freeloader debt. So fuck off with that shit. Danny and Leah became a YouTube member. Hey, what? Dude, it's been a long time. Danny. I see that, you've been in the tumult as well. And, there's a lot of shit going down, dude. Holy fuck. But, haven't agreed with everything that you said, and I don't expect that you've agreed with everything I've said, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay. I take issue with some things. I'm sure you take issue with some things, but like generally, like I'll never forget y'all in Chicago. And anybody that stepped out on the street that day, anybody that stepped out on the street at Austin, right? Now, these are different kind of fucking protest days than any of the other ones that I ever fucking saw again in front of an org. Not the same, right? Now, Easter kind of approached it. They had that kind of big street event, but like, it wasn't, they took that shit seriously. And there's something special about the style of the corruption of the Chicago Police Department. They've got their own thing. Commander David Harris, I'll never forget you. But Danny, you and Leah's freaking bravery. Not only that, your street awareness was clear. Maybe not always safe, maybe not always the most safe things, and to me, right? But you guys you saw the motions of things. You were able to read them beforehand, the motions of the cops, the motions of security, not just to get shots, but to see what was going on. So people that have that kind of situational awareness on the street when things are that chaotic makes it safer. And I'm always thankful to y'all for being there to be out on the street for a day like that. And then several, very many other days. And I see you've moved on to like some awesome showing of what's going on out there on the streets in Los Angeles. So congratulations for that. Ah, Jesus Christ. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? What did I just click on? I don't even know what the fuck that is. Okay. All right. We're going to have some fucking rules now. I just got fucking tricked. Any mention of, freaking like what's been haranguing DOA, this crazy shit that I would never perpetuate and have no interest in perpetuating, right? If there is a mod here, take that shit down. If there's somebody with, anything like a feline something, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? Get rid of it. Super sticker, thank you for the $4.99. Peter Anderson. Super sticker, thank you. With share. I had a super nerdy thought. What if when you needed to try to make peace between friends, you could have a comm badge, and if you touched it, Jean-Luc Picard would appear and mediate? Yeah, but not family matters, and especially not with children. You know how he is with children. He's just all thumbs. But it's a good thought. I mean, he seemed to be able to mediate. What was that piece between? That was one of the pieces. Well, it was the change of the guard for the Klingons, and then there was that shake up in the Cardassian Empire, and it's a bunch of stuff. Thank you, Witcher. You made me laugh. And Casillas. Duck Hate, Duck COS, and Little Davy, the pocket version of hatred. I choose love and truth. Suck it, Osa, COS, and haters. Wow. I mean, this stream could have been 10 seconds long. I could have just said that. That's basically it. But besides, like, a pledge to be better about not letting this stuff fuck me up, and not having it fuck up the rest of my life. And I've not been the best partner, over the past couple of weeks, because I've been so then, like, it, then it's all about me, right? And while that's happening, everything else in life is actually happening and being handled. And there are other hard things that are happening that, like, because I'm so fucking overloaded, like, I don't have full capacity to engage with. And that's, I hope to not have that. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Anne. Oh, gifted membership and a gifted membership. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Be better, act better, perform more to my liking. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. And generally, like, when I give a shit in the bad way, in the way that, like, drags me down this way, like, I'll be frozen into inaction. But you have to actually care enough about what's important in there to keep you in there and acting. So giving a shit and not giving a shit. in balance, and being able to kind of parse out, what's important for you. And to be able to parse out what's important for you, what I find helpful is to understand what you're there for first. State principles to yourself. Make a list of why you're there. Oh, love and kindness. Oh, yes. There's a whole lot of it out there. Absolutely. And the thing is, I truly forget that. And it's the hardest thing for the people around me. And for I don't know, people that live around severe depression. Because I honestly can't see the kindness in the world. I can't see the help that's being offered to me. I don't see the help that's being offered to me as help. I can't see beyond my own hurt for, periods of time. And there are people that can handle that better or worse, but it doesn't matter. It's all grading. It all over pressurizes a situation and leads the other party to just wonder what the fuck is this about, and am I ever going to get a fair shake, or is it always going to be just this storm? So yeah. Thank you very much, Martha. You're wonderful. I wish you all the best. I wish you more recovery. I wish you good news in your life, and at the very least, peace and connection. Wow. Thank you. So, yeah. Now I've made my new intentions clear. That's right. I'm going to be like David Bowie. I'm going to reinvent myself from time to time. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because really, changes, while they may be necessary, there's a reason why people stick to habit. It doesn't hurt as much. Okay. So, looking forward to more protest, engaging with y'all there in chat, expressing my ideas how and when and where I wish, and being free to be you and me and all that. So yeah, y'all rock. Y'all rock. And I hope that going forward we can see more positive motion collectively. And I'm hoping that we can not get in each other's ways as much as we have, because it's just not necessary. There's plenty of work to be done, and you might get to the end of a long slog of working out all of these small ball issues, and regret not having done more to actually further this cause. Because I know, the good days that I ever had protest anywhere that I thought that I had some kind of positive effect, or the time that I donated to charitable or political campaigns, or when I worked for nonprofits, I can look back at all of that with a sense of accomplishment. That I actually fucking did something about these ideas that I had. I didn't just read it in the fucking newspaper and think about it. And those moments have helped me to orient me towards positive action and to give me some sense of self-esteem. And it's those things and not the others that have worked for me. And I suggest that they may work for you similarly. Yeah, I hope to be more of my regular self going, wow, Martha. Reinventing oneself is called growth. To start the day every, yeah, no, seriously, Martha. The gratefulness, because, and that's one of the really sticky wickets about my depression. When I get myself into a state where I am just ungrateful, where, like, okay, I feel like I've had things torn away, or I'm in this state, and I'm embattled on all sides, and these are feelings. It's not the reality. It's I feel this way. Um, and losing that sense of, like, of appreciating anything, like, nothing tastes right, sleep isn't happening, nothing is right. And so one of the points where the dam breaks for me is when I can let one of those thoughts of being grateful get in there and really just kind of blossom, and it will disperse a whole lot of clouds. Thank you for that reminder. That's a really, really good one. Wow. Thank you, Martha. I think that's please take note, everybody. That's a really good one. It sounds maybe to some cliche or whatever it may sound like. Um, People have ways of describing the immensity of everything around you. You know, they've attached all sorts of labels to it. But the impression of the largerness than yourself, and the so many generations and so many happenstances that got you to this point, and that any bit of life, the basic operation of it, is a gift. To be able to be here to experience all of this, to be in a state of not being grateful for just that basic side of things, is a really terrible place to be. And so, honestly, some people get there, I think, legitimately. There are experiences in this world that will strip everything from you. You know, ask a CIA interrogator. Everybody breaks. Everybody is breakable. Everybody has something where, like, maybe you're not coming back from it either, ever. There's a lot of that. And so if it's possible to be able to have the state of gratefulness, if you have anything in your life that's worth celebrating, probably celebrate it. It's really, really good. So, wow. Wow, guys. Wow, y'all. Friends, Romans, countrymen, comrades. Your generosity of spirit, of words, throwing some bucks in the cup, all of this stuff, that's nice. It's good feelings. Sharing these ideas. There are a lot of lonely people out here on the internet, a lot of people seeking for meaning, community, some kind of solace, maybe just entertainment. These kinds of messages, honestly, they save whole asses of people. So definitely worth gold. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, I think those are my ideas and my intentions as they are now, and I look forward to the very beginning tomorrow, the next day. I'm gonna start all this stuff that I intend to do. So look out for a music stream, look out for things, look out for this, look out for the Century of Self and protests, and maybe other kinds of protests. I think there's plenty going on in the city of Portland that needs attention, and probably some good attention. and just some good documentation for safety's sake. And so going to be doing that. And again, yeah, I would say anybody that's wishing jail upon any of us, and I mean, yeah, dude, you're fucking nuts. You don't know what you're saying, and you're engaging in the worst fucking shit out here, right? You're raising the stakes. You're raising the stakes so that people feel so embattled that they need to do like outrageous and exaggerated things to defend themselves because you're frivolously engaging in like, you know, the raising the specter of all of their safety and their future, and casually and anonymously. So anybody that's doing that, fuck you. Anybody that's doing that, fuck you forever. That's your sense of fun. Or you think you're making a point. Somebody hurt your feelings and you want them to go inside on the internets. Now, I mean, I understand the impulse. I understand like the feelings of it, but like, you know, publicly wishing that upon somebody, it's fucking gross. And so anybody doing that shit, you're fucking gross. You know, you can lie down with all of those fucking salacious muckraker streamers that make their whole business and sometimes millions of dollars by engaging in this kind of shit. And they're the worst people in the world. So yeah. Yeah. If that's actually happening in my chat, well, fuck you. So, but to anybody, there's no fucking point, guys. Seriously, let the feelings be feelings. You want to get the law involved? Like, I don't know. Make sure you have a serious case, I guess, because that shit is expensive. But generally, fuck off. So yeah. Because, like, you know, that shit started to whip around the first time I was in Los Angeles, right? And, you know, like I got behind the curtain there, and it was kind of trying to exactly, yeah, suss out what the fuck is going on by presenting myself in a particular way that's like vulnerable, and you know, maybe you think that I'm like some kind of a rube, or you can get one over on me, so you're going to say a lot of things in front of me. So, yeah, there was a lot of shit flying around. There were people accusing each other of everything, and you know, making legalistic threats and all of this crap. You know, it's probably happening before then, but that's when I saw it. And then, you know, maybe the chat didn't know. You know, that was that, you know, that kind of pressure was on between streamers. And it's only gotten worse. And like this escalatory pattern, like, okay, so we've gone from like, you know, words to fists to knives to bats to guns. Where's it going, guys? Where's it going? And what's going to be accomplished in the exercise? What's actually going to be done? We're going to waste ourselves. We're going to waste all of our time and all of our energy. You know what else? We're going to make this a completely unhospitable place for anybody to be. If we're trying to grow this thing and get like kind of more regular folk in, they think they're going to step into a chat and have somebody like accuse them of everything under the sun for like being in another chat. And we're not big enough to be able to handle all of this. You know, people have been threatened with a whole lot worse out there and survived it on the internet. They've got tales to tell. And you know what? They were made more respectable by the exercise, those that survived it and didn't break bad. Ethan Klein, who is now suing so many people for intellectual property violations for that they're defending themselves on the fair use doctrine when like maybe the only good thing that the guy ever did was win a case on fair use to help all of us, and now he's destroying all of it. So so watch out for that, because like, even multi millionaire streamers with all the power and influence ever, they'll engage in the same stuff and burn down their entire house doing it. So yeah, I don't know, maybe, that started me talking about other streamers. That that's a slippery slope. People make their whole careers out of that. Yeah, maybe you've seen these large streamers with like a gazillion subs. They all have lampreys. They have these people that just do commentary on their stuff exclusively, And so we've seen like a very miniaturized version of that here. It's very cute. Everybody's trying to do their own little cottage industry of salacious muckraking around the place. Everybody's their own little Jerry Springer and TMZ. And again, it's what the audience is prepared to eat, and so of course they're going to eat it. So if you're only serving Doritos at the party, maybe the bowl will get eaten. I don't know. So yeah, that was way off track, but y'all are lovely. Looking forward to doing all of the things that I stated before. I believe you've received me well in these ideas. Thank you, chat. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, try to, like, Martha's exercise. I'd recommend that to anybody, and I recommend it to myself right now. Try to be grateful. Try to see what's good in the world. And it also shows your connections back to it if you feel that you don't have any. That's part of, like, I realized that, oh, no, you're not on a capsule going to Mars. You're actually here. You're connected to this world and all of these things that you've done and all of these people. Because in that loss of awareness, I shirk my responsibilities to the people in my life. And I can't tell you how destructive that's been to me, for me, by me. And I would say right now, it's got to be the work is to stop failing the people I care about and who care about me. So with that, love to y'all. Hope you're well. Be good. Till next time.